What is up, everybody? In this video I'm going to be doing a book review, sort of my reflections on Murakami. I think that's how you pronounce it, but it's a book all about long distance running, and recently completed it, and I just wanted to share some points from the book. So one of the first things he talks about is that there is a philosophy in every shave, and what I took from that is basically that, you know, whenever you do something over and over again, you can actually find philosophy within it. And this is how I look at running. Whenever I run consistently, and I do it often, I learn a lot of life lessons from running. You know, having to be disciplined, and you know, having to become a new person just to like improve, and having that sort of mindset. And you know, even though you may not want to do it, you just do it, and then at the end of it, you feel good, and you've got these endorphins flowing through your body. So anything you do repetitively, you can start to philosophize within it. I think that's something that people should take into consideration whenever you actually begin running, that you will get a lot of revelations from doing this act. So there's also something else he says in the book. He says that with running, pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. So say you're going for a long run, and you know, it gets to the point where you're a little bit sore. He says the soreness is the pain that's inevitable, but you kind of contemplating and be like, oh, I hate this, you know, God, this sucks, etc. Like, oh, why am I doing this? Oh, I'm so miserable. Why did I put myself through this? That is optional. So you don't necessarily have to engage in those thoughts and think that way, or at least he highlights this in this book. This is something that helped him get through runs. He also compares a lot of running to writing, because you know, he is a writer, you know, talking about, you know, setting the pace and, you know, just sticking to it, especially whenever it comes to training, because you don't want to overtrain and then not be able to like finish. So what I took from that is that you can, you know, get a lot of, again, more lessons from running and setting the pace for things that you want to achieve in life, and almost kind of like set like a limit for yourself, that like, you know, so that you don't burn out before you achieve your goal. He also talks about using negative emotions as a way to almost improve something else that you're doing. As in, don't just take negative emotions and just use that in a not constructive way. You know, if you're angry or you're frustrated, use that as fuel for your run. Don't just go out and do something crazy with it. So channel, you know, like Avatar, Legend of Aang style, channel that into something creative. Channel that into your sport. Channel that into a creative pursuits. You know, I've heard artists kind of like XXXTentacion say that whenever he's angry or frustrated, he uses that. He knows that, okay, he can channel that into his music. So this is one of the interesting things that he mentions in this book. Be productive with anger. Be productive with frustration. Be productive whenever you feel these emotions. You know, that's a very, very good lesson. He also talks about in the book that you want to also gear your life. Well, at least this is what something I find interesting for him. So because he's a writer, he gears his life towards sort of satisfying and pleasing his online audience. So that is his primary focus. And this may be good if you're wanting to pursue that path, or if you're wanting to go down the line of being like someone who's online or on social media or something like that. I just find it interesting that he talks about just gearing his life so that this is his main focus. So one of the things that I would say about this book is that it didn't seem that he knew too much about nutrition, because like some of the dishes that he was eating was just like fish and vegetables, and I was like, you're a runner, like you're an ultra runner, like where's the carbohydrates? So I didn't understand his diet. He didn't give me like the impression that he knew how to properly fuel themselves for long distance activities. I don't know, I could be wrong, but that's just the impression I got. Like, he didn't really talk too much about like smashing in, the fruit, the potatoes, the high carbohydrate foods, etc. Just mainly like fish and vegetables, and I'm like, what? How's that? You're gonna hate doing long distance if that's if that's what you're fueling yourself on. He mentions as well in the book that he learned a lot of like life skills, social skills from running a bar, and in that bar, one of the things that he learned is that in life you don't really need everybody to like you, especially whenever it comes to like a business like running a bar. If 1 out of 10 people were happy, he was happy, and he managed to run the bar successfully just off that philosophy. It's like if one person is happy with the business, then you tend to do all right. And in life you can kind of look at the like that way. You don't really need everybody to like you. If one person likes you out of 10, great. If you go into a social setting and you come out of there with one person, even though there's like 100 people there, if like one person really likes you, then you're winning. You want to really just surround yourself with people that like you and enjoy being around you just for who you are. So that's kind of what I took from that. Not everybody needs to like you, but the ones who do will really like you. He also talks about how the most important things that we learn in life is not in school, which makes sense, because generally speaking, school doesn't really teach us a lot of amazing like life skills. Like I'm 30 now, and I just think to myself, like, why don't we like learn how to learn, like learn how to actually learn, like get like world champions and stuff like that. Like, why don't we learn how to like grow microgreens and stuff like that, and grow potatoes and stuff? I don't know, maybe in some places they teach that. Why don't they teach you about like starting a business at a young age, or all these different things? Like, I'm sure there's like a huge list of things that like schools don't really teach you about. They don't really teach you about social skills, social dynamics. They don't really teach you a lot about nutrition. Like half the people now that I talk to, they don't even know they're primates. I'm like, what? People are saying that potatoes and people now in Ireland are saying that potatoes make you fat. People are saying the rice makes you fat in China. Like, what? Like, this just goes to show that the amount of influence that certain industries can have on curriculums, and to the fact that like we don't really get taught amazing things in school. Obviously, like, school's great because you're learning something. I'm not poo-pooing in school in general, but that's one of the things in this book. He highlights that the most important things in life that you're going to learn are not going to be in school. There's a part in the book where he's talking to a famous runner, a well-known athlete. I think he's an Olympian, and he basically asked him the question of, basically, like, do you still get like days where you just don't want to run? You can't be asked running. And the guy just looks at him like, of course, that's a silly question. Like, of course. And with running, you're gonna get that. There's days you're gonna wake up and you're not going to want to go and run. You don't want to do the park run. You're just tired, or you don't want to do the training. But recognize that never goes away. Even at the top level, the Olympic level, it doesn't go away. You can get used to it. And some days, of course, you're gonna be more hyped. You're carved up, you're well slept, etc. You're hydrated. You get up. You stick on some motivation stuff in the morning. You're G'd up. But recognize that even at the highest levels, they go through periods of this where they're like, oh no, I don't know if I could be bothered. And in life, you're gonna get that, even for things that you genuinely derive pleasure and joy and all these wonderful things from, and growth. You're not always going to want to do it, but recognize at the highest level, they just do it anyway. They're like, oh, but they just do it. Recognize as well that being busy should not be an excuse for you not to be able to run and move your body. That's one of the things he highlights in this. He's like, if he was to put off running because he was busy, he would never run. And how many people are in the situations where they're like, I'm too tired to work out, I'm too tired to eat healthy, I don't have enough time to eat healthy. so many people have all these different excuses and why they can't do something. And in life, you just have to recognize that your health, your ability to move and strengthen your body and train, it's a privilege, and you shouldn't take it for granted, and it should be a priority above everything else, because you only have one body, and if you don't take care of that body, it's going to negatively impact the quality of your relationships, and it's going to negatively impact your career and your ability to acquire money in this realm that we're in, you know. So don't use the excuse of being busy. Everyone goes to the toilet. You can do a couple squats on the toilet, you know what I mean, before you do your business, you know. You can do some push-ups before, you know, like while you're making food. You can do some squats, you can do some push-ups, you can do some planks as soon as you get out of bed. Find the time. You can find food that's easy to prepare, such as fruit. I say this, fruit is one of the easiest foods in the world to prepare. Grapes, wash, eat. Bananas, peel, eat. Mangoes, peel, eat, you know. And just find the way, because your health is a priority. So he also talks about how as a writer, if you can't focus for 3 to 4 hours a day, you basically won't have the stamina to be able to do long pieces of work. And that 3 to 4 hour block is a really interesting one, you know, for productivity and stuff like that. So that's something that, you know, I could definitely learn from this book and his work. So he also talks about in the book that there would be a famous writer that, in a way, just to train himself and condition himself in the process of writing, he would basically just sit at his desk. Even if he had ideas or not, he would just sit at the desk and sort of condition his brain to be like, right, okay, we're gonna train our discipline here. And I thought that was very interesting. One of the things you will also get whenever you read this book is that the author's portrayal of just the inevitable decline physically that comes with age. And he just talks about how, you know, a lot of the times, you know, his times will, you know, be getting a little bit slower, but he's just trying to find ways around that. Again, I really do think that if you can look at his diet, I don't know accurately what he eats, but you get that sort of impression that he is very contemplative about the passing of time and how that has affected his running. So that is something to be aware of as well. So a lot of people that aren't aware of like a high carb, low fat, plant-based vegan lifestyle, they won't really understand that things like heart disease, cancer, strokes, diabetes, hypertension, all these things are largely avoidable whenever you make the correct lifestyle factors, as T. Colin Campbell has shown, as Esselstyn has shown, as John McDougall has shown, as Arnold Ehret has shown, as Doug Graham has shown, and there's a lot, you know, Walter Kempner. So it's, if you read the book, just take that into consideration, that that's true. As you age, you will decline just physically, but you don't have to go through all these horrible chronic illnesses that plagues the Western lifestyle. But definitely, whenever it comes to this, just look at some examples like Ruth Heydrich. You know, she's been running for donkeys. You know, cancer survivor, switched to plant-based lifestyle, then a plant-based raw food lifestyle, achieved amazing things. So the human body can perform amazingly if you give it the right fuel, the right tools. He highlights in the book that it's really important to stretch. Stretching is very important to sports. Stretching is very important to life. The more you are progressing in weights, the more you're progressing in running, the more you're just living your life, just going for walks, going for hikes, etc. You will be building tension that if you do not stretch and move your body in a way that you can relieve all that, you're not going to reach your full potential, because you're going to increase your likelihood of getting injured, and you're just not going to feel good. You're going to feel all stiff, especially as you age. One of the funny parts is whenever he was doing an ultra marathon, and which kind of left him sort of jaded, after completing it, because it was just so taxing. But there was a section where he talks about how, like, the mantras that were going through his head just to allow him to complete it, where he was saying basically, like, I'm not a human, I'm just a machine. I'm not a human. I'm just a piece of machinery. I don't feel a thing. Just forge on ahead. So it just goes to show you what these long distance runners have to tell themselves just to be able to go through something that's quite difficult. So if you can, again, philosophy in every shave, if you can apply that to your life, and get creative with it. If you're going through something difficult, or if you're trying to do something that's quite challenging, instead of giving up, try to create mantras that can allow you to basically go to the next level, go deeper into your discipline, so that you can actually get the outcome that you want. So he does go through a period where he sort of touches upon kind of like existential philosophy, where during the ultra marathon, where basically at some point he just, again, that machine like just kind of automaton, where he's just going through the motions, and he gets to a stage where normally he states that, like, he would like feel a lot of like joy and like, happy that something's complete whenever it comes to like the end of like a marathon or something like that. But during the ultra marathon, he didn't have that. So like the ending wasn't something that he was like madly excited about, and it caused him to really think that, maybe life is kind of similar, where even though death is like the destination, it inherently doesn't have any meaning. That's what he started talking about, because by the time he got to the end, he was just like, this is just another part of, like, I've just been running for basically like 62 miles. The end is just, it doesn't really have any meaning. Like, the ending almost lost all meaning for him. Not to make anyone depressed who's watching this, I believe that you have a purpose. I think that if you don't feel like you have a purpose, meditate and actually just think to yourself, what have I been put on earth to do? Like, what do I gravitate towards? But yeah, I just thought it was interesting that he just goes through a bit of like an existential sort of crisis in that period of time. It's like, nothing has any meaning. The end of this race doesn't have any meaning. And it's essentially, he's kind of right. Like, whenever you're doing like a 5K, like, there's no like huge significant, like, what's the inherent significance of, like, you just ran 3 miles, you just ran 26 miles, you just ran 62 miles. It's like, okay, but we give it meaning. It's a sense of achievement. It's an accomplishment. So you can almost view your life in the same way. It will come to an end, but you can give it meaning. Then there's a section where he talks about becoming a triathlete, and basically the thing that I got from this section is that once you are in a position where you don't really know too much about a sport or an activity or a thing that you want to pursue, it's good to surround yourself with people who have vastly more knowledge and more superior in that sport or thing that you want to do, and just learn as much as you can from them. He also talks about how the weakest link tends to hold you back. Like, I think his weakest link was cycling. But he was just like, I just got to patch this, and you just got to work on it, just to pull the rest of it up. But one of the main things that I really like about this writer is that you can tell just from his books that what got him into running is just the desire to run. He just wants to run. Ultimately, it's not necessarily about like, being the fastest runner for him or doing this or that. It's just the ability to be able to run, to be able to have that time to himself, to be able to set a goal and actually, you know, try to make progress towards the goal, whether he hits it or not. And this is also one of the things he highlights in this book, is the reason why he writes. You know, he writes because he wants to write. You know, no one was holding a gun to his head, no one was pressuring him. He just wanted to write the same way he wanted to run. And to the day that he ascends, he will just keep doing this, you know, because he feels that the running really complements his writing, and it's just something that he enjoys. Ultimately, the existentialist sort of thing, if you zoom out and you just see a bunch of humans like doing all these like triathletes and running races and stuff like that, from the book's perspective, it's like there's no inherent meaning to any of it, but to him and the people who do it, they derive a lot of meaning, a lot of purpose from this. So ultimately, this book is really good if you're a runner. I'm a 5K runner trying to get sub 20. That is my goal. But if you're a runner in general, this book is fantastic just to get into the mindset of runners and good runners and long distance runners. It can really transfer over to any sort of type of running that you do. In terms of like diet, I wouldn't really look at this book as a good indication for what to sort of base your diet and lifestyle. You know, you'd be better off looking at more plant-based literature. But if you do want a recipe book, high carb, low fat dishes that can actually help fuel your running, your 5K, your ultra marathons, your 10Ks, whatever you want to do, then link will be in the description section below. There's smoothies, there's soups, there's salad dishes, rice dishes, potato dishes, really, really nice, healthy, plant-based, low-fat dishes, just to also get you in race weight, and you can eat as much as you want. Very similar to what the Kenyans eat, the Ethiopians eat. Those sort of macronutrient ratios, high carb, low fat. So with that being said, what did you think of this video? Do you run yourself? Peace, love, veganism. I am out.